The desert night had a strange way of swallowing sound. Even the crickets were silent, as if the whole land was holding its breath, watching, waiting. The wind carried the faint smell of burning wood long before the flames became visible. It slithered low across the sand, slipping through sagebrush, curling around old fence posts, whispering secrets of something terrible happening somewhere out there in the dark. And inside that burning barn, tied to a support beam like an animal left for the buzzards, Lila Rowan thought she was already dead. Her hair clung to her cheeks, her vision blurred from heat and smoke. Her heart hammered. Every breath felt like swallowing ash. She tried screaming, but it barely came out. "Somebody, help, please." But the roaring fire swallowed her voice. The ceiling cracked, raining sparks down on her shoulders. A flaming plank fell so close she felt the searing heat brush her skin. A strangled sob escaped her. The world tilted. Her wrists were raw from struggling. Her knees shook violently. "Please," her voice broke into a whisper, tremoring through the smoke. "Please, don't leave me here." And then, as if the desert itself answered, she heard it. A horse, running, fast. Not running away from danger, but straight toward it. The flames cast an enormous silhouette across the barn wall as the rider jumped off the saddle and kicked the door open. The stranger walked into the fire without hesitation. He didn't cover his face. He didn't shield his body. He just strode straight through the smoke, turning the burning world into nothing but background noise. When he reached her, his voice was low, steady, with a gravity that made her want to collapse into his arms. "I got you. Stay awake." He cut the rope binding her wrists, lifted her effortlessly, and turned for the doorway. The barn groaned behind them, ready to collapse. He didn't look back, he didn't slow. He held her against his chest and pushed through the flames, just as the entire upper wall burst apart in a shower of burning debris. They hit the dirt together, rolling until the fire's heat loosened its grip. Lila Rowan coughed violently, tears streaming down her soot-covered cheeks. You came for me," she gasped. The stranger didn't answer right away. His broad shoulders rose and fell as he caught his breath, the dying fire reflected in his cold, steel-gray eyes. "Finally," he said quietly, "no one deserves to die alone." The way he said it, the emptiness in it, told her this wasn't the first time he'd carried someone out of a burning place. Before she could speak again, the stranger's hand tightened suddenly around her waist. "Stay down," he whispered. 3 riders sat on horseback atop a ridge, silhouettes sharp against the moonlight, watching, waiting, silent as death. Her blood went cold. It's them," she shook out. "Carter's brothers." The stranger didn't need to ask who Carter was, or why men would want her burned alive. He just said, "We're leaving." He pulled her onto his horse in front of him and snapped the reins. The horse shot forward into the night. Gunshots tore through the air. She screamed and grabbed his arm, burying her face into him. He leaned forward, shielding her body as bullets ripped past. The riders followed, relentless. The stranger dismounted them into a rocky gorge, weaving through shadows like a man who knew every dangerous corner of the West. Every turn he chose was intentional, learned from a life spent running from things worse than bullets. Her voice trembled against his chest. Who are you?" "Dane," he said simply. Just a name, but it carried the weight of a man who had lived too long with ghosts. They reached a hidden alcove deep inside the canyon. Dane dropped from the saddle, lifted her down gently, and guided her behind a cluster of rocks. She trembled uncontrollably. "Are they gone?" For now, he said, checking his revolver with calm precision. His movements were steady, almost practiced. He'd been hunted before, more times than he wanted to remember. She shivered again, not from cold, but from the fading shock of almost dying twice in one night. Dane removed his coat and wrapped it around her shoulders. "You're safe now." A tear slipped down her cheek. Why did you save me?" He didn't answer immediately. His eyes drifted toward the canyon entrance. Dark, still, quiet. "Because someone once called for help." His voice tightened faintly. "And I didn't get there in time." She didn't ask more. She could hear the pain in the words he didn't say. As the firelight flickered between them, Lila finally spoke, voice hoarse. "They think I killed him." Dane looked at her without blinking. "Did you?" "No," she cried, clutching her chest. "I loved Carter. He died in a hunting accident. I was with him. I tried to help him. I tried—" Her voice collapsed. Dane didn't touch her, didn't offer comfort, but the silence he gave her wasn't harsh. It was patient, like he knew grief well enough to let it spill. When she finally steadied herself, he asked softly, "And they tried to burn you alive for it?" "Yes," she whispered. "And they won't stop until I'm dead." Dane's jaw clenched. "Well, then they'll have to go through me." The next morning, the riders found them. Dane sensed them before he heard them. The canyon rocks vibrated faintly with approaching hooves. He stood slowly, revolver in hand, body positioned directly between Lila and danger. When the Rowan brothers appeared, their faces were twisted with grief and fury. The eldest barked, "Step aside! She dies for what she did." Dane didn't move. "She's innocent." "You don't know that." "I know enough." The middle brother raised his rifle. Dane's voice dropped into something dark, dangerous, and absolute. "You raise that gun any higher, and you won't live long enough to regret it." For a moment, the canyon held its breath. Then a shot rang out. Gunfire exploded between the walls, echoing like thunder. Dane moved like lightning, firing back, pushing Lila behind cover, rolling across the ground, hitting the second brother square in the shoulder. The youngest staggered, fear replacing rage. He stared at Lila, hands shaking around his rifle. "I just wanted justice," he whispered brokenly. Lila stepped forward, even with her knees trembling. "Justice doesn't look like this," she said softly. He dropped the rifle, and the canyon finally fell silent. Dane exhaled, holstering his gun. The Rowan brothers weren't dead, but their hatred was. Walking into town was worse. People stared, whispered, judged. The sheriff eyed Lila with suspicion until Dane handed him the broken rope from her wrists. "She didn't do it," Dane said. The sheriff hesitated, then nodded. "You're cleared, Miss Rowan." Cleared, but not free, not inside. Lila turned toward Dane, eyes filled with something desperate, something she didn't want to name. "You'll stay?" she whispered. He tightened his saddle straps. "No." Her breath caught. "Why?" "Because I don't belong here. I don't belong anywhere." Her eyes shimmered. "Please, don't leave me here alone." The same words she'd cried in the fire. The same words that pulled him toward her like a ghost tugging a lifeline. He touched her hand gently. "You're stronger than you think, Lila. You'll survive this. You'll rebuild." And you? He mounted his horse, gaze drifting to the endless road. I'll keep riding. That's all I know. She took one small step forward. If fate wants us to meet again, will you let it? He hesitated just once before answering. Yeah, I reckon I would. Her tears fell silently as he rode away, the sun setting behind him in a blaze of gold. He didn't look back, not because he didn't want to, but because he knew if he did, he would never leave. The wind curled around him, carrying her voice behind him, her hope, her heartbreak. And for the first time in many years, Dane Mercer felt something warm crack open inside him, something he thought the West had killed long ago. A reason to keep living. A reason to keep riding. A reason to maybe one day come back. If you're enjoying this Wild West tale, I'd truly appreciate it if you hit that subscribe button, give this video a like, and share your thoughts down in the comments. Your support helps this channel grow and lets me keep bringing you more cinematic stories from the old frontier. And tell me, where are you watching from? I love seeing the different places y'all tune in from across the world.